Noob D&D Dad here, and we are going to talk about the Army Veterans group that I'm DMing for in the Dragon of Icespire Peak, and we're talking about Session 20. So if you've been watching, you know that they killed Cryovain the Dragon very early in Phandalin. They had previously decided that the Shrine of Savras is going to become their new home, and so they're going to pay a crew to repair it. So I put out a question, this was a while ago, but I put out a question to you guys asking how much it should cost to repair the Shrine of Savras, or like a wall and a tower. What I came up with was, after reading what everyone wrote, 2,300 gold. So they gave this to some NPCs in town that were like a little working crew. They paid them up front to go do the Shrine of Savras. And I think I mentioned this in my last video about the Army Veterans group. I am DMing for my really little kids, my son and my friend, and an Army Veterans group. So 3 groups right now. And I mentioned that the players assigned these NPCs to go work on their place. And then the NPC naturally asked if it was safe there. And the rogue player got like really, really annoyed. Because he's like, you shouldn't bother us with that question. Like, you have the money, go hire your own security, just go. And he was like really annoyed at this NPC for just wanting to be safe, because as the DM controlling the NPC, I'm like, maybe something's going to go down while these guys are working. Maybe they're going to get attacked, because they just paid these guys to go work while they want to go adventure. So at this point, they have all kinds of loot. They have all the loot they took off the dragon. I mentioned they took every little dragon part, and they have all the magic items they've been finding, and they are really wanting to go to sell stuff at a magic store and also buy cool items. So they look at the map of Phandalin and they plan out their whole route. They go to the job board. They decide to take the Axeholm quest, the Lighthouse quest, the Dragon Burrow quest, and then after that they'll go up to Neverwinter to try and find a magic store. And I'm like, oh boy, Neverwinter is not in this book at all. But I'm like, I can figure it out. So I did a ton of research on Neverwinter and like different people who've made up Neverwinter parts, and ultimately, and this is a few sessions down the road, but when they finally do go to Neverwinter, spoiler alert, they go there, I just made everything up myself. I was like, this is my version of Neverwinter. I'm going to populate the world that they're looking at, and then if they want to go deeper into it, then I can dig more into like official sources or unofficial sources. But once they get there, for me, I made it up, kind of like I was inspired by the Tibor map that I found on Reddit for my son's group. Anyway, let's get back to the Army Veterans Sessions 20. So they go to Axeholm, and this is, oh nice, you can see my dirty dishes on my desk. This is a place that I really, really enjoyed running for my son and my friend's group. And they were there for days and days. I mean, like sessions, like many, many sessions they were there. And so I was really excited to run this for the veterans group. And a few of the things I was excited for are to share the same stuff that I added to the map with these guys and see how they react. And also the NPC. So there's the NPC called Yance, if you remember from watching my son's group videos, that became a beloved NPC to my son and my friend, and he actually became very important to the story after Axeholm. So I decided in this alternate reality of this different group adventuring the same place to have the same guy at a campfire at the mouth of the entrance of Axeholm. And of course the rogue just picks his pocket and he steals a goat scrote leather bag full of 10 copper pieces, because this guy's not rich, right? And they decide they don't need his help, and they go on in. All right, so once they come in here through the main doors, and I can't remember what triggered it, but I had 6 ghouls come out, and they had an epic battle. And the more time that goes by from when I did the session, the less details I remember of their fight. But one thing that I'm very proud of that I added was, so I made the ghouls a little less juicy looking in my son's campaign, right, to keep the blood down, right? So when they kill the ghouls, they just kind of crumble and crack and stuff. There's not like juicy blood flying everywhere. And so for this group, as they're killing these ghouls, I also had them be pretty dusty. And so eventually, fighting all these ghouls in a confined area, I just talking about how they're just getting choked in dust. Like if you've ever seen the 2005 War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, when all the people get zapped and all the people dust is on him. That's kind of what I was trying to describe for fighting the ghouls, that they're just covered in this dust. And I actually had them all roll a Constitution saving throw. I don't remember the DC I chose, but I decided that if they failed it, they would be incapacitated for a minute because they're just choking on all this ghoul dust. And I was very proud of that addition. So when they made their way up into this side room and go through the door, one thing I like to do in these old dungeon doors is when they push it open, I like there to be like a body leaning on it. So they push it open and it like falls over or just like scooches out of the way. So immediately they're just like, there's something right here. Let's like look at it. Let's loot it. And so it was a dwarf body with a silver ring. I always like to give them wedding rings to just know that this was like a person that was here and have there be a name inscribed on the inside. And then a hand axe, a great axe, and a morning star. So just like a body with some cool stuff on it. And then when they made their way in here, A7, which is the barracks, so just a bunch of cots, they were really determined to just keep investigating and finding stuff. And sometimes I know that even if they roll a natural 20, it's like, there's nothing. There's just nothing in here. But I'm like, if the dice rolls well, like I can come up with something. And so I decided that in one of the cot's legs, there's a hollow leg, and it had 12 gold pieces in it. My friend was talking to me. So the other campaign I'm DMing for is my 9-year-old son and my friend, and then my son's cousin. But one thing my friend was talking to me about is, he called it the barrel smashing. I can't remember what he said, but there's like this principle that if you just kind of smash enough stuff or look in enough places, like you will just find like little bits of money. I'm probably slaughtering the way he described it to me, but I think I was inspired by that. And I'm like, yeah, you can find some money in a hollowed out leg of an old cot. Why not? And I didn't plan that. And that's part of what I've been enjoying as playing the DM is kind of letting them keep exploring and pushing me to invent stuff on the spot. And I've been really enjoying, and I know maybe this is not the way you're supposed to do it. Maybe you're supposed to be more planned, but I've been really enjoying making up stuff on the spot. Like when they go look at something or when I provide a visual hook and they go over and look at it, I'm like, oh boy, what is over here? I better like populate it and see how they react to it. So I've been enjoying playing the DM. So I feel like I'm playing as well when I'm improving along with them, finding out what they're finding. Now these little bathroom areas, the privies, there you go, enjoy my office squeaky chair. Where's it at? Right here. These bathrooms in Axeholm are some of my proudest moments as a DM. So I have there be like a chainmail curtain, which is kind of weird, but they like throw it open, and the first player throws one open, and there's a ghoul on the toilet, and they all shoot him and blast him, and they totally kill him, and it's like, whoa, that was cool and exciting, and it's like, okay, now let's open the next toilet stall, right? So they're like going through like kicking down the toilet stalls essentially, but really just yanking open the curtain. So one player finds the guy on the toilet and they kill him, and it's like, wow, that was cool and exciting. So they're taking turns doing it one at a time. The other player opens it up, and a sturge, I think sturges come out and just like latch onto this is the sorcerer. They latch onto his face and he's like freaking out. So the sturges are just like sucking blood out of this guy, and they're filling up. And the way I like to describe sturges, and this is going to be really wrong, but I like to describe that they're always like sweaty and like breathing hard. So they're like flapping around you, and their skin is like sweaty, and it just like grosses people out. And so it just encourages me when they get grossed out by my descriptions. And so finally one of the players like hits it and it explodes all over him. So the sturge's blood and his own blood just splashes all over him. And I was just like, that's a good moment right there. So there's one toilet stall left, and the paladin / warlock half orc is like, I want to open one. Like I want to test my metal against whatever's behind this curtain. And I'm just like, yeah, go for it. So he like rips open the curtain, and I just have there be like a little doll sitting there. He was so disappointed by this, which also made me happy. So anyway, they make their way back to A7 to do a long rest. Sometimes the long rest is dictated by how hurt they are. Sometimes it's dictated by the fact that our session is coming to an end, because we typically do Friday mornings at like 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Before work. There's me that shows up in person, 2 other guys, and then we have a big TV at the end of a conference table with a camera on it and a mic on the table for the remote people. And then we have the map and D&D Beyond up there. So I do everything on paper, and then the players do everything on D&D Beyond. So it's a hybrid, but it actually works really well. Anyway, so sometimes the session just needs to end, so they go long rest. So they hold themselves up in A7, and remember they have some animals, and they have this sleeping young woman. I call her the sleeping broad, from that they got out of by destroying the boar. What's his name? Gorthok. I don't know. And she's still not awake. And at this point, I'm like thinking in my head the triggers that are going to wake her up. One of the things that I'm thinking could wake her up is a banshee wail. And I'm also still, at this point, I've decided now, but at this point I'm thinking, is she going to wake up and be a villain? Is she going to wake up and be a hero? Is she going to wake up and tell them some important secret and then rot before their eyes and fall apart? I don't know. I think all of them are exciting, but stay tuned to see which one I eventually lean to, unless I already spoiled it in a prior video. But this has been session 20 of the Army Veterans group that I am DMing for in this beginner style one that I have been absolutely enjoying. So spoiler alert, they're finished with this one, and we started Curse of Strahd and leading into Vecna Eva Ruin. But stay tuned for more of finishing this campaign, because we've got quite a bit left. And yeah, I've been loving it though. The Essentials kit is amazing. It's been perfect for me, for my son, for me and my friend, for me in the Army Veterans group. DMing it for multiple groups has also been awesome, because I have the same notes that I can work off of. So I feel like prep is easier. So I feel like I'm fortunate in that regard. And I kind of want my son's group to follow the veterans group, so that again, I can DM 2 groups on the same thing, so I can compare and contrast what happens in either one. All right, I'm going to keep it to session 20 for this one. So this has been session 20. So thank you. If you like this kind of thing, let me know. Subscribe, push all the buttons. And I love advice. So any advice you have in general, I really love hearing it. And I read it all and I implement it, or I don't. But it's been very enlightening to keep learning this. So thank you for coming on this journey with me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.